Imagine this. A quiet night on March 8th, 2014, somewhere in Southeast Asia. Kuala Lumpur International Airport is alive with ordinary movement. Luggage wheels rolling across polished floors. Announcements echoing softly through terminals. People saying goodbye, or hello, or nothing at all as they wait for routine departures. And on the tarmac, a massive aircraft sits under artificial lights. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, a Boeing 777, one of the most advanced commercial aircraft ever built by human engineering. Nothing about it looks unusual. Nothing about the night feels wrong. There is no warning, no storm, no technical alarm, no indication that anything in the world is about to change forever. Inside the aircraft, 239 people prepare for a routine journey to Beijing. Families, workers, students, tourists, crew members who have done this countless times before, each of them carrying something invisible but important. Plans, destinations, future conversations they expect to have tomorrow. None of them knows that their shared timeline is about to fracture into uncertainty. The aircraft begins to move, slowly at first, then faster, until it lifts off the runway and rises into the night sky. A smooth departure, perfectly normal, exactly as expected. As it climbs, the lights of Kuala Lumpur shrink below. The earth becomes a pattern of scattered illumination. And then, darkness. The cockpit is calm. Communication with air traffic control is routine, professional, predictable. No tension, no distress, no anomaly. And then, a final transmission. A simple line, almost forgettable in its normality. Good night, Malaysian 370. A standard handover phrase. Nothing emotional. Nothing unusual. And yet, this becomes the last confirmed human voice ever heard from the aircraft. After that moment, something changes. Silence begins. The transponder stops transmitting. Radar contact disappears. And a large commercial aircraft vanishes from civilian tracking systems. Not physically, but electronically. Completely. And that is where the first layer of mystery begins. Because modern aviation does not allow something like this to simply happen. Aircraft are tracked by multiple redundant systems, radar networks, satellite communications, automatic position reporting. And yet, MH370 slips through all of them. In the first minutes, authorities assume a technical malfunction, a communications failure, or a possible emergency landing somewhere off radar. But minutes become hours, and hours become days, and no distress call ever arrives. No emergency signal is transmitted. No wreckage is found on land. No eyewitness confirmation appears. Only silence, growing heavier with time. A global search operation begins. Malaysia, China, Australia, the United States. Multiple nations commit aircraft, ships, satellites. The search area expands across millions of square kilometers, primarily the Indian Ocean, one of the largest and most remote regions on Earth. Satellite data is re-examined. Radar logs are reconstructed. Flight paths are simulated repeatedly. And then, something unexpected emerges.
Inmarsat satellite handshake data, signals that were not meant to track location directly, but instead reveal timing and distance patterns. And from this data, a disturbing conclusion forms. MH370 did not stop immediately. It continued flying for hours after radar contact was lost, turning west, then south, eventually heading deep into the southern Indian Ocean, far away from any major landmass, into a region so vast and empty that recovery becomes extremely difficult. This single revelation transforms the entire investigation, because now this is no longer a sudden disappearance.
This is a prolonged flight, without communication, without visibility, without explanation. And the question shifts immediately. Who was controlling the aircraft during those final hours? Pilot? Co-pilot? Autopilot system? Or something else entirely misunderstood? Theories begin to multiply, each one attempting to fill the silence, but none fully resolve it. Technical failure theory. But the Boeing 777 is built with redundant systems designed to prevent total loss of control. Multiple independent failures would be required, and there is no evidence of such cascading malfunction. Hijacking theory. But no group claimed responsibility. No demands were made. No communication was attempted. No political or strategic message followed the disappearance. Pilot intervention theory. Cockpit simulations studied later show possible route deviations, but intent remains unproven. And even if true, it still does not explain what happened during the final hours over open ocean.
The aircraft continued flying, steadily, deliberately, into isolation, into darkness, into one of the least monitored regions on Earth. The Indian Ocean search effort becomes one of the most expensive and complex in aviation history. Deep-sea sonar mapping begins. Autonomous underwater vehicles scan the ocean floor. Millions of square kilometers are analyzed. But the ocean offers no immediate answers. No full fuselage is recovered. No clear crash site is identified. Only fragments begin to appear months later. The first confirmed debris is discovered on Reunion Island, a flaperon from the aircraft, finally proving MH370 ended in the ocean, but not explaining where, or how, or why. In the years that follow, additional debris washes ashore. Mozambique, Madagascar, Tanzania. Small fragments carried by ocean currents over thousands of kilometers. Each piece confirming tragedy, but none completing the picture.
Meanwhile, families of passengers are left in an unprecedented state of uncertainty. No final location, no definitive explanation, no closure. Only the slow passage of time without resolution. And perhaps that is the most human part of the story. Not the disappearance itself, but the absence of answers that follow it. Investigations continue. Reports are published. Data is reanalyzed. Simulations are refined again and again. Yet no single conclusion satisfies all experts. No final narrative closes the case completely. And MH370 becomes something larger than aviation history. It becomes a symbol of modern limitation. A reminder that even in a world of satellites, radar systems, and global communication networks, something large can still vanish without immediate explanation. And as time passes, the mystery does not fade. It deepens. Because every new attempt to understand it
reveals how many variables still remain uncertain.
How many assumptions are required? How much interpretation is still needed to connect the data? And in the end, what remains is not just a missing aircraft, but a gap in understanding. A gap between technology and truth, between data and certainty, between what was observed and what was never recovered. And somewhere above the vast Indian Ocean, there is still only silence. A silence that once carried 239 lives. A silence that still refuses to fully explain itself. And until every question is answered, MH370 remains suspended between reality and mystery. Not as a solved case, but as an unfinished chapter in human history, floating somewhere between knowledge and the unknown.